And now, from Pasadena, it's CCN Sunrise with Sehnita Joshua Mattison, Paulo Alejandria, the Crown City News team, and the CCN Sunrise segment stars. It's time to wake up San Gabriel Valley with CCN Sunrise.
Good morning and welcome to CCN Sunrise. We have a great show for you. Pasadena City Councilmember Terry Tornek is here to talk about his mayoral run and other big news in District 7. I'm Sehnita Joshua Mattison.
And I'm Paulo Alejandria. Well, is it tomato or tomato? We'll be sure to ask the Mad Chef Dave Matthews when he joins us later on in the program. But Sehnita, it's been a pretty crazy week out here in Pasadena. We got soccer or football royalty. Football royalty, Manchester United, which I don't know if you know, but they're like the New York Yankees of the soccer world.
Well, and those Yankees really did a number on our Galaxy team. It was not a fun score, 7-0. Yeah. I mean, I think people who were, who know soccer knew it wasn't going to be much of a competition because of how elite Manchester United is. But it's just great to have them come down here, spread the word. I mean, I think they've been trying to spread the gospel of soccer for like the better part of the past 30 years. So this definitely helps. Well, the hard part, that's the thing with soccer, though. You get all this hype and excitement from the World Cup. And, in LA here, we thought, David Beckham, golden boy, he was just going to, set it on fire. But then you have, off the World Cup, you have this 7-0 loss. That kind of hurts things a little.
I think Beckham was setting things on fire with
he
other
sure
things,
was,
especially
Paulo,
with
let
the
me
ladies,
tell you.
right?
Well,
Exactly.
Now here's a look at some of the headlines making news right here in the San Gabriel Valley.
And now, CCN, Crown City News. Your neighborhood starts right now.
Following a number of high-profile officer-involved shootings, residents have been calling for civilian oversight of the Pasadena Police Department. CCN's Tony Meade has that story.
Hi everybody, I'm at the Public Library in Pasadena where City Council member against civilian oversight of the police department will debate the issue of those in favor of it. Former State Assemblyman Anthony Portantino moderates a debate here at the Pasadena Public Library between those pushing for civilian oversight of the Pasadena Police Department and those against. At the heart of the debate is what some here say is the police department's troubling history of officer-involved shootings of African American and Latino men. Council member Steve Mattison faces off in a debate with ACLU attorney Peter Bibbring. The Pasadena City Council has been pushing back on calls for civilian oversight, saying members of the Public Safety Committee serve that purpose and that additional civilian oversight would be redundant. Some say the committee isn't enough.
Is that supporting the positive benefits of that institution, or is it indicating that it's not having an effect? Is it showing a significant reduction in civil claims, which of course is a huge cost issue?
An independent police auditor, or IPA, is what many here propose, including members of the ACLU, NAACP, Pasadena Latino Forum, the National Association of Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, and other agencies. All these organizations say that civilian oversight would allow the police department to regain its reputation and trust. Police oversight is taking place throughout Southern California. Officials with the ACLU, NAACP, and other organizations said they will continue to host forums to encourage it. In Pasadena, Tony Meade, CCN.
We're hearing more about the dengue river and other exotic illnesses brought on by mosquitoes. So the San Gabriel Valley Vector Control District is out spraying to rid the area of the Asian Tiger Mosquito. CCN Sunrise's Andy Rocco has that story.
In an ongoing effort to control the infestation of Asian tiger mosquitoes, the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District have performed a treatment this morning to target immature mosquitoes. I'm here with Jason Farned, the Public Administration Officer. Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit more about these mosquitoes?
Sure. The treatment this morning was specifically targeting the Asian tiger mosquito. It's an invasive mosquito species. It's not native to Southern California or even the United States for that matter. It's Belmonte, and currently, since 2011, it infests an area of the city of El Monte, South El Monte, and the southernmost parts of Arcadia.
Can you tell me a little bit about the process of how the treatment works? What does it look like? Can we smell it?
Sure. The treatment this morning that we did, like I said, was a larvicide treatment. It's a pesticide called Vectobac, WDG, and it's a biological larvicide that targets specifically mosquito larvae. So it's very target specific. It doesn't have any adverse effects on any other organism. What we do is we disperse this treatment through ultra low volume truck mounted unit, and it sprays a fine mist into the air. As it drives down the street, sprays the mist into the air, and the mist settles, and it finds all those small pockets of standing water, because that's where mosquitoes grow. What this mist does is it settles down into those water sources, and the mosquito larvae ingest it, and they die.
Well, it sounds like you guys have it under control. Is there anything that residents can do to prevent or deter mosquitoes from their neighborhood or their home?
Oh, absolutely. The general public and the community is one of our best allies in keeping the mosquito populations down, especially during the summer. If we keep those breeding places off of our property, then we don't have to worry about them so much. The Asian tiger mosquito specifically can breed in very small amounts of water. We found eggs in containers as small as a bottle cap. So just inspecting your property every 2 or 3 days to keep all the standing water, dump it and drain it, and keep the sources dry will help.
As you've heard it here, City of El Monte residents can call San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District for more information. In West Covina, Andy Rocco, CCN.
Now we've got our morning buzz, and there was quite a lot buzzing, Paulo, at John Muir High School this past week when someone hacked into one of the teachers' accounts.
I know, crazy, huh?
Oh, it is a bad one. And they sent out these nude selfies that he had of himself out to about, almost 300 people with the subject line, enjoy. And it is just so sad because this is a well-respected teacher in the school, and here all of his business is out there.
I know. I mean, and that's anybody's fear too when they lose their phones. Like, oh my God, my phone. Because I mean, depending on how you choose to use the camera function on your phone, it can be pretty embarrassing if things were to get out. So I can just imagine how things are for this gentleman, especially as a public educator.
It is, and you just kind of wonder at this point, like, why? I don't know. I don't take those kind of selfies. Even, I'm in a fitness group, and we're supposed to put, take before after pictures, and even that, like, I just don't want
You're
out
a little
there.
skeeved out about that.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't need to. I just think that it's getting to be too much of everyone taking all these selfies because you don't know what's going to happen. It's so easy with your phone to lose it, put it aside. So I don't understand.
It's just scary to think about how much of your life you could actually put in your phone. I mean, a great majority. I mean, I had recently lost my phone, and I don't have any questionable selfies or anything
Oh, good.
like that.
I'm glad to hear about that.
But, I mean, I was a little worried. I was like, okay, there's some silly pictures I took here with my friends. I mean, if that were to get out, I mean, it'd be a little bit embarrassing. But, I mean, it's just think about things like that. And I did feel a little a little incapacitated without the
because
little
it's
phone.
a part of you,
Yeah.
and this is really a part
And
of him.
this
that
was
he
a really a part of him. It showed a different side to the guy.
But so far they're saying that he's not going to lose his job. He's the victim here. He's well respected, even though they're saying that he's not going to risk losing his job. There is already a petition one of the students created to save his job, Mr. Richard Ross. So I think there's a lot of support for him out there, but I do wonder how do you go back to the classroom? I don't know.
Yeah, and how do you sit in his class?
Well,
I
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but it's something they're gonna deal with, I suppose.
Yeah, and then so the other story, the 80-year-old in Long Beach gentleman.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, it just stirs up the whole stand your ground debate and all of that. It was an 80-year-old man in the Long Beach area, Tom Greer, and he walked into his house being broken into. It was a couple, male and female, and they struggled with him.
Yeah.
I mean, there were fists flying. He broke his collarbone. They slammed him into the ground. So, that's pretty scary.
Elderly man. And I think what you have here is a guy who just simply has had it. I mean, from what I understand, reports indicate that he had been robbed twice or 3 times before, like very recently. So, I mean, I have a feeling this guy was on guard. I mean, you can speculate, of course.
But, it's just hard because, when they interview him, he's like, no regrets. I guess the woman had, when they found out he had a gun, they started running away. And he was about to shoot him, and the woman said, I'm pregnant, don't shoot me. And he shot her anyway.
Because it ended up in the alley. away from the actual scene of the crime.
Yeah, and
so
at
he
that
had chased
point,
them out.
Is it self-defense at that point?
I mean, it's an interesting question because, I mean, you can theoretically say like the threat had been neutralized once he had showed his gun. He didn't have to chase him out into the alley. But then again, would they have robbed him again? Had he? It's a lot of questions, a lot of what ifs.
Well, and that's what he's saying, that, you know, now the guy had actually escaped. They did catch him after the fact. But, you know, he's saying, well, he's not going to think about robbing me again. But it's a little different. You have someone who was, yes, he got his collarbone broken, but it's different being beaten up and being killed. And I think that's what's missing in this. I mean, you know, she could have gone to jail. She could have changed her life. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But we may never know.
Yeah, you could never discount, the ability for, the potential for one to rehabilitate themselves in prison. Unfortunately, we'll never know.
He's like, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, he's running for mayor next year.
But for now, Pasadena City Councilmember Terry Tornek is in our studio to talk about his mayoral run and other District 7 news. Coming up next.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And now, CCN Crown City News. Your neighborhood starts right now.
Started the year off with a bang with his announcement to run for mayor months before he could officially file the paperwork in November.
Terry Tornek is here to talk about his mayoral run and other big topics in District 7. Thanks for being here, Terry.
Oh, I'm delighted to
Welcome.
be here. Thank you.
Well, so you made quite a stir by announcing right at the beginning of the year that you were running for mayor. Why was it important for you to start the year off that way, making the announcement?
Well, I don't think it's something to be coy about. I mean, I think it's important to let people know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the essence of my campaign is to reach out to the voters and find out what they're thinking, not just tell them what I'm thinking. And that requires a lot of time because I'm walking door to door across the whole city. So by definition, if I was going to achieve that, I had to come early and let people know what was going on.
Is this campaigning the old-fashioned way?
It's very old-fashioned.
Hitting the bricks, so to speak?
Well, it's interesting because it's sort of a combination of very old-fashioned in terms of door-to-door and talking to people at their doorsteps, and also the Facebook activity and the online activity. And
nowadays you have to be very active social media.
Yeah, it's an education for me in terms of reaching out on Google and Facebook, and I'll tell you, it's very successful in terms of drawing people out and having them to respond to you on a person-to-person basis.
So is that you on there?
That's
You're managing
me.
your social media?
Most of it.
Okay. What kind of response are you getting when you show up at someone's door? I mean, most people are so shy about talking to people at their door at this point.
That is true, and sometimes people don't open their doors. I mean, but I will tell you, with the hundreds and hundreds of doors that I have been at, I can count on the fingers of one hand how many have actually been rude. So even if people aren't particularly anxious to engage, they're at least, I think they're pleased that someone is at least making an effort. They may not commit to you, but they're polite, they're engaged, and some of the reason that I never meet my target in terms of the number of doors per day is because you meet very interesting people, and they have a lot to say. Pasadena is just loaded with interesting people that have interesting careers and life experiences.
And that are politically engaged.
Some of them are politically engaged. A lot of people just want to be left alone.
Right.
And the political engagement has to do with sort of don't mess anything up. They love Pasadena. They want to make sure that Pasadena continues to be a successful place, and they're anxious not to have anything happen that will disrupt what they believe is a very nice lifestyle.
Well, that's part of the reason we wanted to do this show. You'd mentioned that there's so many amazing people in this community, and we want to tell those stories and really be, having people come together and not feel shy and behind closed doors. So I
think that's terrific, and I think one of the reasons, for example, that I feel so strongly about all these commissions that we have in the city, and people are sometimes critical that we have too many commissions because we have about 24, is that it's a method to tie people to their community. They do engage in something, and they start to feel that they really have a stake in the community and that they have some control over what's happening in the city, as opposed to just being passive and letting it roll by them. So this is another version of that, I think, in terms of drawing people and tying them to the city.
And in talking about what's going on with the city, what's going on in District 7? We got plans for the future, but how about the here and now?
Well, I think things in District 7 are pretty good. We do have one issue that's not just a District 7 issue, but has emerged in District 7. We have some new construction of completely out of scale single-family dwelling. I urge people to take a look at it on Los Robles, south of California, on the west side of the street. There's a building that is dropped in there that looks like it came from another planet. And it's got the neighbors very excited, very upset about the impact on their neighborhood. And when I engaged, and I used to be the planning director for the city, so I know something about this stuff. And it turns out that it complies completely with all of our codes and regulations. So we have now launched an inquiry with the planning department, and we're going to get a report back on how we need to modify our codes and ordinances, because if that's fully compliant, then I think something's wrong.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, wasn't that an issue with the Playhouse District, the development there, that the buildings were too large for the area, and that was part of...
That's the Playhouse Plaza project at the corner of Colorado and El Molino. I was part of a group that brought a lawsuit against the city, unhappily, because the project that was originally approved didn't comply with the city's rules. And ultimately the city lost that lawsuit, and the project was redesigned. And what's being built now, I think, will be much more successful and much more appropriate for Pasadena.
Or in keeping with...
the essence of Pasadena, the reason people like Pasadena so much is because it has a particular quality, and I think we want to be careful not to lose the reason that people love the city.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, we want to thank you so much for coming out here. We hope that you'll come back again, give us more updates about the district, the run, the people that you're meeting out there. So
thanks so much. Referring to you as mayor. Mayor Tornek.
Well,
thank you for having me.
It's a long ways away.
Thank you.
But good luck to you.
Thank you.
Is it up or down?
Money and market segment star Bob McClure is here to tell us about the volatile markets and planning for the future and retirement. Coming up next.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave. Okay, but remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Planning for retirement can be very tough if you don't know where to start.
CCN Sunrise's Richard Foley talks to EH Financial's Emmy Hernandez and gets a few tips.
I'm in the historic city of San Gabriel, home of EH Financial, where President Emmy Hernandez says people looking for options as they approach their retirement age can find their answers here. Retirement is a milestone that many aim for, but not everyone with that goal in mind is prepared for it. President of EH Financial, Emmy Hernandez, says that's partly because most people don't know where to start.
There aren't really credential places for people to learn financial planning skills.
Emmy says she doesn't want anyone to be left out in the cold.
I believe in dignity and independence. So I believe that people work hard for all their life so they can retire comfortably, at the end. And now you cannot fully enjoy your retirement if you have to worry about running out of your money or become dependent and or burden to someone. So that's why financial freedom and financial security is very important to retirees.
Because people in retirement may not always have a steady paycheck coming in, Emmy says it's important for them to plan ahead of time so they can save enough money to cover their expenses.
We can help them put everything together in one big perspective. And most of the clients tend to come to me when they're approaching retirement, because at that time they realize that they may have to make some changes in their financial portfolio, whether changing from accumulation phase into distribution phase.
Emmy says EH Financial also helps people prepare for their golden years through community outreach.
That's one of the reasons that we having this type of financial workshop free for public on a quarterly basis. And I hope that this information that I've been doing and providing would help people at least to give them a starting point in their planning process.
For more information about EH Financial or financial planning, you can visit them at ehfinancial.com. In San Gabriel, I'm Richard Foley, CCN.
Sometimes investing in the stock market can feel like a bit of a roller coaster ride.
CCN segment star Bob McClure is here to tell us how to deal with the volatile markets.
I'd like to talk this morning about a subject near and dear to my heart, and that's volatility. If we look at dictionary.com, it sets out several different definitions of volatility, but I'd like to focus on one that reads in particular, tending to fluctuate sharply and regularly, volatile market conditions. If we take a look at the S&P 500, every single day, market prices rise and fall. If we go back 20 years, we find out about once in every 4.8 days, the market either rises or falls 1% or greater. So about once a week on average is when we see one of these 1% or greater market rises or falls. On Thursday, July 17th, last week, the market fell 1.2%, which has been a fairly regular occurrence, but it turns out that day marked the first day in 62 business days where the market rose or fell greater than 1%. To find another stretch of 62 days or greater, you actually have to go back to 1995. So that roller coaster we've been talking about hasn't been happening. This definition, tending to fluctuate sharply and regularly, we haven't had that. In fact, we've had historically low market volatility. And the thing that's got a lot of people questioning what's going on is this. The S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average are both at all-time highs. So how do you have all-time highs in the market and historically low volatility? That sounds like something that most people would like. Most investors want high prices. They want to make money, but they want a nice smooth ride. They don't want any sharp bumps or turns. It turns out the answer to this is probably fairly simple. If we take a look at the bond market, the place where most money will go if it leaves stocks, it turns out the bond market is at historically low yields. If you have a 30-year treasury, you only get about 3.25%. There are a huge number of stocks that have returns that are greater than that right now, just from dividend yields. So it turns out a little bit of apathy is a big part of the explanation as to why we have such low volatility but high prices. There's just not another great place to park your money. So for now, Sehnita, Paulo, we'll probably just stay put.
Well, does this help job security for people in the financial industry when they talk about volatility? I mean, if they are making it sound like there's huge swings, then they can say, you got to come to me. I'll help you out through this ride.
Yeah, it can be. And there's a lot of fear built into the sales of financial products, life insurance policies, annuities, mutual funds, and that kind of plays against what we're seeing right now, which is low volatility. You haven't had to have a genius investor guide you through this time because it's been fairly easy to make money. The real thing is, like Warren Buffett always says, when the tide goes out, you see who's been swimming naked. I think we'll have a chance to find out what that's about in the next year or two.
There's one guy to listen to. Maybe it should be Mr. Buffett, right?
Exactly.
Or Bob McClure.
Or Bob McClure.
I'm listening to Bob.
I'll listen to Bob any day.
That's on Bob. Well, if, heaven forbid, anything happens to a loved one, one of the toughest decisions you'll ever have to make is telling a doctor to pull the plug.
Believe it or not, you can prepare for that in Mary Winter's Senior Solutions segment. Next.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Those who've had to make tough decisions like pulling up the plug on a loved one know the heartache that can cause.
Segment star Mary Winters tells us how to prepare for that kind of choice in her Senior Solutions segment.
Mary, so I mean, that's one of the hardest things anyone can tell someone else to do.
Absolutely, and it's hard to ask somebody to do those things for you. But the thing is, we want to talk about them before they become an issue. So if we plan for these things in advance and we discuss them, they're not as difficult when we get to these situations where we do have a very critical choice to make. So let's talk a little bit about some of the forms that are really necessary to get through. An advanced healthcare directive allows you to choose an individual or more than one person to make those decisions for you. What do you want? Who do you want to make those decisions for you? And those people should have access to those forms so that if something happens, you get that critical call from the hospital, say, or your mom's doctor, saying something's happened, you know where to get that form and you can present that to say, I am this individual's decision maker. In addition to that, there's also something called a DNR, and it's something that should go alongside with that. A DNR is a do not resuscitate form. It states whether or not, well, it states really that you do not want CPR. So in those events, you decide that you do not want to be intubated, you don't want the machines, you don't want the tubes and those sorts of things. And that way, hopefully your wishes will be abided by in the case that there's an emergency. So when we have things where people don't plan these things in advance, automatically you wind up going on the machines and making these lengthy decisions about whether or not somebody should stay on resuscitation. So I say, have a party in advance. Get your friends together, your family. It's not an easy discussion to have, but have it when you're having fun and you're relaxed, and it's an event where you can really just talk about things that aren't necessarily comfortable, but really important to discuss. So that way, when these critical times come, you have the forms together, you know what your loved one really wanted in that type of situation. And as much as it's always going to be a surprise and it's always going to be difficult, it shouldn't be as horrific as never planning or never knowing that this is coming to begin with. So that's something that I discuss with my families frequently. And sometimes it's not something that just happens once. Maybe it's several conversations that you have to have with somebody, and just to kind of nudge them along and ask them respectfully what they do want for their wishes. What if? I do a lot of the what if. So go back to your families, discuss what kinds of things are really important to you personally, kind of do the what if scenarios, and see if that might help in a critical situation.
I'm just curious, once everything is sort of planned out and they have the pieces in place, how long does it take as far as the paperwork?
Oh, it can go instantaneously. In fact, you can get the Advanced Healthcare Directive and the Do Not Resuscitate form from your doctor's office.
Can you get them online as well?
Yeah, you absolutely can. Get them for the state that you live in. That's the biggest thing.
Oh, that's important. Thanks for that, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Well, in our next half hour, Caltrans gives residents a chance to own properties along what would have been the 710 corridor.
But it comes with some strings attached. Coming up.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
And now, from Pasadena, it's CCN Sunrise with Sehnita Joshua Mattison, Paulo Alejandria, the Crown City News team, and the CCN Sunrise segment stars. It's time to wake up San Gabriel Valley with CCN Sunrise.
Welcome back to our second half hour of CCN Sunrise. I'm Sehnita Joshua Mattison.
And I'm Paulo Alejandria.
So Paulo, the traffic got a little snarled up this week.
Yeah, for a good reason though.
It sure is. POTUS was in town.
I know.
Driving around, but a lot of folks, even the Democrats, were not happy with the traffic.
I don't think anybody's happy with traffic. In fact, our trusty camera operator, Joe Tritton, also a reporter, was stuck in traffic too on his way to LAX. I think he said for about 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. I know my husband called coming back from work and he was just like, why is this planned at rush hour time? I mean, and that is a fair point, when they know they're coming into town. I get frustrated when people are like, oh, he doesn't need to travel. Well, no, it is part of the job. Yeah. He gave a talk at LA Trade Tech, and I think it was an important conversation to have about economic patriotism and just getting people back into the job market. But why do events have to be planned around rush hour? Why can't they get to their events earlier or later? I don't know.
Especially with all the pomp and circumstance involved with the president's visit.
Absolutely. They need to drone him in, I think. Well, now here's a look at some of the news headlines making their way right here in the San Gabriel Valley.
And now, CCN, Crown City News. Your news, your neighborhood starts right now.
Pasadena Water and Power plans to make recommendations to the City Council to implement a Level 1 water shortage plan. If the Council approves it, the plan would fall in line with the new mandatory state conservation requirements, including a $500 fine for wasting water. Residents could only water their lawns 3 days a week on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays during the summer, and they'd have to fix water leaks within 72 hours. Water shortage rules adopted in 2009 would remain in effect, including no watering outdoors between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., except with a handheld container or hose with a shut-off nozzle. No watering during periods of rain, and no washing vehicles except by using a handheld bucket or similar container or hose equipped with a water shut-off nozzle. You can visit our media partner, Beacon Media's Pasadena Independent site for more information.
Residents may soon be able to buy Caltrans home along what would have been the 710 extension, but some say they're not happy with the strings attached. CCN's Tony Mead has that story.
53 properties owned by Caltrans have gone back on the market after years of being state-owned rentals. For more than 50 years, Caltrans has owned hundreds of houses along the 710 freeway corridor. The plan was to tear them down to make way for the 710 freeway extension, but the project never happened, and the houses for decades have been under Caltrans management. Now residents will be given an opportunity to own the properties, but some here are not happy about some of the rules, including having to wait 30 years before making improvements that might make the home unaffordable under a law passed in 1979. Caltrans Division Chief Brent Green held a public hearing at the Pasadena Convention Center July 17th, allowing tenants to ask questions about the draft regulations in which tenants, former tenants, affordable housing agencies, and others will be allowed to purchase the homes.
Public participation is the key to the regulatory process, so we're here tonight to hear your input.
Caltrans will begin to sell the property in 3 phases. Phase 1 starting this fall. In Pasadena, Tony Mead, CCN.
In our morning buzz, well, there's this interesting story out of Arizona that sparked a lot of national debate as far as capital punishment, cruel and unusual. You've heard of this Joseph Wood. Like, after a lethal injection, it took him over 2 hours to finally succumb to.
Honestly, I don't understand it. I mean, you know, whether you're pro-death penalty or not, why would it have to take 2 hours to do this? I mean, if you're going to say that this is what you want, what you're going to do, I mean, bring out the firing squad or something, but you know, that is ridiculous to let someone just sit there and slowly die for 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's just curious too, because from what I've read, what reports indicate, this is a mixture of two chemicals that we've just started recently using, our government, and there's been cases already where similar cases of like, hasn't been instant as far as them succumbing to the injection, and the kind of stuff. I mean, people who were on the scene said he looked like a fish that was gasping for, out of water, kind of gasping for air. It's just a very heinous description of this man's last 2 hours.
But you know, the spokesperson on the other side was like, no, he was just snoring and sleeping. So come on, that's a huge difference. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone is struggling for that amount of time, I mean, you know, do we need to bring out Kevorkian's equipment or something? Because the man got the job done. I mean, not to make light of it.
Say what you want about him, right? But
yeah, not to make light of the situation, but if that's the decision you're going to make. I mean, that's what happened with California with the death penalty here. A judge who was Republican-appointed judge said, we can't have the death penalty here. You know, it's not working.
Yeah, and it's just bringing it to the discussion. Like, I mean, is capital punishment? I mean, is this really the way we should be going about things, especially in light of this? I mean, we try to reassess our laws and how we punish criminals.
And you know, some people are saying, hey, well, you know, that person might have inflicted pain to someone, you know.
But then you get into the whole eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Well, that's the whole debate with the death
justice.
penalty. But I think just, you know, sticking with the cruel and unusual punishment, you know, no one can get on board for that.
Right.
And that is what, as a country, we do have to come together about. But, you know, switching topics a little bit, you know, the
switching gears.
Yeah, exactly. The film industry here in California has been struggling a lot.
It's a big part of our identity, isn't it?
I know. I mean, hooray for Hollywood,
Right.
but now we're in 4th place. But find places like Louisiana, Canada, and the UK, which is really drawing a lot of our California industry.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. We talk about Canada, and I suspect Vancouver is a favorite filming location. And somebody from one Vancouver told me, like, well, the way they laid out our city is to look like any major metropolis, kind of look like a default. So, cityscapes are kind of planning their whole look on facilitating the movie industry. It's such a big moneymaker.
I'm hearing that, a lot of the bigger roles are still here. It's more maybe like, the smaller scenes. But the main thing some of these cities, other places have to think about, like I know Michigan had to repeal its tax incentives because they were saying, well, we're not putting it in other areas we need to do. And when you look at a state like Louisiana, you have to consider that. They're pretty low on education standards, healthcare standards. So they're luring in this industry, but what are they letting fall behind?
Right.
And
right.
That's one of the things that they really have to think about. That's why it is repealed in other places, and why we're being a little cautious. Our system works on the lottery system. We do offer some tax incentives.
And it's expensive to shoot here in California, I would imagine.
But we have everything surrounding it. We have the equipment, the people. It's just there's so much here that they have to build up there. So just stay here.
Yeah.
Why don't we make it easy for everybody? Just do it here.
Keep Hollywood, Hollywood.
Absolutely, hooray!
Well, if you've given up on plans to invest in real estate in California, you're not alone.
Lee Cuellar gives tips on folks looking outside the state to buy income property. But you can keep that here too. Coming up next.
Hey everybody! Heart disease affects 1 in every 3 women in America, but you can fight back. There's no time to lose. Mothers, sisters, daughters, families, and friends, it's time to shout louder, stand stronger, and demand change. Let's go!
To the Batmobile! Dang it.
To the invisible jet!
Dang it.
Together, we can put an end to heart disease. It's time to go red for women. I could use your help. Yeah! Learn more from the American Heart Association at www.goredforwomen.org.
Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Pasadena celebrated what would have been Mac Robinson's 100th birthday last weekend.
Now we have some pictures for you. The events took place in front of City Hall, PCC, and the Pasadena Public Library. At City Hall, the community celebrated Olympian Mac Robinson and his baseball superstar brother Jackie and their family members with music and presentations at Pasadena City College. The Mac Robinson family held a reception at Krevling Lounge showing a video of the 1936 track star's Olympic performance and Mac memorabilia.
Today I'm very happy and I'm very pleasing that so many showed up and came out to help celebrate Mac's 100th. Even though he's gone, he left in 2000, resting in peace, but we still celebrate him just the same because he had wonderful achievements for his academics that he was so terribly involved in education and youth and the world. So he and his brother Jackie really put Pasadena on the map.
The baseball reliquary also inducted Jackie Robinson's widow, Rachel Robinson, into the shrine for the eternal during a ceremony at the Pasadena Public Library.
From baseball to real estate, some folks can't afford to buy their first home in California, let alone Southern California.
For those looking outside the state to buy investment properties, CCN's Lee Cuellar has some warnings in the CCN Sunrise Your Home segment.
So, you have a bunch of money laying around you have no idea what to do with. You're tired of burying it in coffee cans in your backyard. You don't want to leave it in the bank where you're getting 0.001% interest annually, and you don't want to give it to Bob to invest. What do? There's a few ways to invest in real estate outside of the state of California. Here in California, we are blessed with extremely high real estate and property values. Not so in other parts of the country. So one way to invest is to buy and sell, or flip out while you're trying to flip and buy and sell. So you identify a property that's undervalued for its marketplace, you buy it, maybe you make some improvements, and you sell it as quickly as you can, hopefully for a profit. Now, the second way is to buy and hold. You identify a property, you buy the property, make some improvements, and then you rent that property so somebody else can make your mortgage payment. Let's take Tulsa, Oklahoma, for example. You can buy a nice single-family home for $80,000 to $100,000 and rent it for $900 to $1,000 a month. That's going to give you very nice positive cash flow. Now, investors are doing that 2, 3, 10, 100 times. You can see how nice that cash flow is at the end of every month. Now, what do the experts say? You want to make darn sure that you know the marketplace. Do your homework and work with qualified professionals wherever it is you decide to invest. Those people are going to determine how good of investment that you've made. The lawyers, the real estate agents, the title professionals, and the technicians, the tradespeople who give you, who are doing the work on your house when you're 3,000 miles away on the beach. So, do your homework, work with qualified professionals. Paulo and Sehnita, back to you.
No, Lee, is it safe to assume that it's the states that border California that are taking advantage of Californians investing out of the state?
Well, it's, the people I spoke with about this story, they're investing heavily in Oklahoma and Tennessee, sometimes Indiana and Ohio.
Okay, so it's not necessarily your Nevadas or...
No, not necessarily.
All right.
All right, sounds good.
But I'm going to leave my money with Bob McClure.
Oh.
My bet's on him.
Hey, when I get a house in about 20 years, I'll talk to you.
Yeah. Well, Paula, do you know what a sommelier is?
Sounds French.
It does.
But, I mean, since it does, it sounds like it might be pretty delicious.
It does.
Well, luckily, the Mad Chef Dave Matthews is here with Master Sommelier Rafi Abajian when we come back and a taste of CCN Sunrise.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Preventing wildfires. That's all Smokey wants for his 70th birthday.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
Well, there's no end to what you can do with those tasty tomatoes from the farmer's market. And as you can see from the spread here, we're going to learn how to make something very special with the Mad Chef Dave Matthews. And he brought along a guest today, didn't he?
That's right.
Who do
we
we
have
got
a very
here?
special guest. This is Robbie Abidjan. And
Yes.
he is a master sommelier in addition to his whole product line that's available at Whole Foods.
I'm also a winemaker sometimes on my time, if I can. And I'm here, the guest of Dave. I like the perfume of these
It
stuff.
smells
I mean, these tomatoes just look gorgeous with the onions. So tell us how we're going to do this.
What are we doing, Dave?
Today we're actually making tomato galette, which is basically, it's a puff pastry that we are going to layer with the heirloom tomatoes. And really, don't be afraid of the heirloom tomatoes. The more odd the shape is, the better. So don't be afraid of it. The color is amazing. As you can see on here, we worked on these this morning, and it's phenomenal. And what we thought today would be really great is to do a little wine pairing with this. So if you're confused about what wine to buy and what you should pair this with, we've got a professional here that's going to teach us all how to do this.
All right.
Just what we needed for the weekend.
do it right.
Yeah, so
Wait a minute, no teaching. I share my experience.
Okay. We're going to go on a journey.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we do every week.
I'm ready.
Actually, it's always
My
a
bags are
journey.
packed. Let's go on a journey.
I learn every day something. I share what I know with my friends and for those who ask, because that's the way it goes.
That's a beautiful philosophy.
We're ready to go.
Yeah.
So so the first thing I want to just talk about is the puff pastry. So if you go to my website, we'll have a video on how to actually do your own homemade puff pastry. But for today, we've already made it. So it's super easy to do. You actually don't even need to buy this. You can buy pre-made puff pastry at any supermarket. So this morning I'm going to have you make the very first one. This is your very first bachelor one. So what you want to do is determine what size you want this to be. So what do you think about that? Big? Let's start it there.
Yeah, I think we're good with that.
So this is going to be it. So what I want you to do is I want you to wash it with some egg.
Okay.
So you're just going to basically brush it.
Okay. And then you want me to cut a similar size piece?
Yeah, we'll have you cut some up.
Okay.
Because you're going to have to put the sides on.
You got it.
So you made this at home?
We actually made this at home, yes.
And how do you know when you washed it enough?
That's perfect.
That's perfect?
That's perfect. So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to put your corners on. So you're going to go like that. And when I cut it, just perfect. So we're going to put it there.
Okay.
Go ahead and do an egg wash on that.
Oh, okay. On these?
And then I'll have you, go ahead and do that. Perfect.
Great.
And then go ahead and cut through here, and you're going to want to put a piece across here and a strip across there. So that's the first thing.
So it's like your pastry tray going on.
Yeah, it's your own pastry tray, and what's great is you can freeze this. So if you're having a party and you want to have it pre-made, you can make it the night before and freeze it, and then heat it up in the morning or in the afternoon when just before you're having your party.
The pre-made pastry, I mean, it's easy, but it is quite expensive if you're going to do it for a party.
You can actually go, there's some Armenian markets that have puff pastry that's very inexpensive. So if you, in your area, the key is just finding maybe some specialized markets that might have lower pricing on it. But puff pastry you shouldn't spend over about $7 or $8 for a package of it.
Okay, Matt, Chef, how does this look?
That's still quite a lot if you're trying to do it for a party.
But you can cut these up, because this is so very rich because of the butter. Smaller pieces is just perfect. That's why I brought some little appetizer plates.
That's my problem.
Just little plates, little tasting. Okay, so
how does that look?
Perfect. So
okay.
Okay, so we're going to pat this down.
Okay.
So that you want to marry them. Call it marriage. And then you just want to layer it. So you're going to layer your tomato in here. Just like that.
And so the different tomatoes, the colors, they all have different flavors as well? And is it okay to mix and match?
Yeah, I love the color, and just think about when you're presenting it, how beautiful it is. So, okay, so now we've got this going. We're going to throw that into the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes, and then we can go ahead and slice into it, and we can pair it with some of the wines that Rafi has brought for us.
Actually, very little people give importance for the pairing of the wine with the food. Not every wine pairs with the food. We don't want that the wine overpowers the taste of the food, because you will be having something that has no sense, or the food overpowering the wines. So always I'd advise to start technically by cleaning up the palate. This is why we use, usually in Italy, the Prosecco. It's a white sparkling wine that pairs almost with everything. I have it here. Okay. Please.
And so this is just when you start out your event with a Prosecco.
Every lunch or dinner should start with a Prosecco.
So, and I see, I mean, you're going to be moving to a red. So if you're going to be having red for the day, you can still start with this?
Always. Okay. Always, definitely.
And this is a sparkling wine you have here, right?
Yes, it's a sparkling white wine called Prosecco.
Prosecco.
Made from the Prosecco grape. We sip it in Italy still, and we sip it also sparkling. Please, Dave,
Oh gosh, yes, I'm ready.
Prego.
Prego.
Excuse me, I will use some Italian words will escape in the conversation.
That makes it so much better, doesn't it?
Cheers.
La dolce vita?
Certo. As you see, every occasion is good for Italians to cheer with. And this now technically has cleaned our palate. So you better have a good, yummy cheese, yummy food here.
And so
I see that it is really very, very nice.
And you put some, is this feta? Or
it's feta and a little bit of Kalamata olive, which I don't see on yours. Let me give you a little more.
So Rafi, good friends, good food equals La Dolce Vita, right?
Certo.
Okay, let me taste this. This just looks so good.
It's so amazing, and it's so easy to do. And that's what I really
Oh my
want
gosh,
people to go
it's
on and
so
try
delicious.
this. Isn't this delicious? And paired, like, it's a great little summer appetizer.
And so you use red onions that you alternate with.
You can
With
do
this
shallot.
program.
It's getting away from
I'm
me
so
there.
excited. You can do shallots with this. You can throw a little cheese on there if you like. I just love the simplicity of the tomato right now. The flavor of this tomato is amazing.
And then did you put together the Kalamata mix, or did you get that from
No, I
someone?
made it at home.
Okay. Does it matter what kind of olives you use, or?
No, the Kalamata I like because they're a little more flavorful. They're a little more impactful, I think, on the palate. And if you pit them, I buy them with the pit in, and then I just pit them myself. You can buy a little pitter at the supermarket or at
certainly is
Williams-Sonoma.
delicious.
And so you start with the Prosecco, and then you can move down the line from
Absolutely
there?
no. I brought this morning very big wines, very big Italian wines, known as the Barolo, as the Brunello di Montalcino, and also as the Super Tuscan. A delicate food prepared by Chef Dave like this can't go with any wine. To give importance and to bring up to the palate the taste of these foods, we must go to very mild wines, white preferably. I brought up the red to make you, unfortunately, taste what a lot of people go wrong on it. A big wine, expensive wine, but not suitable to the food. That you are going to make a negative experience, and then of course we will come back to the positive pairing that must be sipped with it.
I'm sorry, Dave. And with this dish, since it is tomato based, would it be the natural assumption be red wine? Because from what I understand, your reds go with your red.
You can go, of course, with a red wine, but you must avoid absolutely a full body big wine.
You don't want to overpower it.
Yeah, nothing overpowering
it. It will overpower and ruin your food.
So
Well,
Cabernet would be too
Rafi,
strong.
so talk about your aerator and how you're going to make this more special.
Not having enough time to decant these big wines,
Yeah.
I bought the aerator, a simple Venturi. I'll take any of these three. This is, for example, a Barolo.
Now, we're probably going to have to try these off on our own time because we have run out of time. I think, is this a necklace or what do we wear this as? I'm not quite sure. But we
Here
are
we
going
go,
to
we've
enjoy
got
this
the
whole
crew.
party. Bring it and our guests.
Okay, you bring up the wine, then the segment
I
starts
know, and we got to bring out our guests.
You guys want to try a little bit of
So
this?
that's it for this year's test.
It's a party.
We want to thank our sponsors,
And
EH
especially
Financial.
And thank you to you, the viewer, and our CCN Sunrise crew. We're about to have some fun.
We're
See
going
you
to have
next
our
week.
little party here.